Welcome to the first edition of the Goodwin Boxing Shows preview. And the first show we're going to look at is Brawl in the Hall on September the 7th at York Hall, which is an Olivia Goodwin promoted event. We intend to be able to preview many of the boxing shows around the country, not only the Goodwin shows, so tune in for more shows on a weekly basis. But this show is going to concentrate on the Brawl in the Hall, which features 4 title fights on September the 7th and is promoted by Olivia Goodwin, my daughter. It's a big show for her, and I think it's going to be an exciting night ahead. To talk about the shows, on my left hand side I've got Jon Briggs. Jon is a regular contributor to Boxrec. You'll see many of his articles on the internet, and Jon is a regular at our shows. And on my right hand side I have my son Josh, and Josh is at the present time applying for a promoter's licence, and if successful will end up being the youngest promoter in the world, so hopefully he wants to step into boxing as the rest of his family have done. But what we're going to do is look at the fights, and the biggest fight on the card, as we all know, is a heavyweight fight between Tom Dallas and Ian Lewison. And this fight's for the vacant Southern Area title. Ian Lewison has been a top amateur, we know, in recent years, but has never fulfilled his potential. And Tom Dallas is on a recovery mission after losses to Price, losses to Skelton, and then a loss in prize fighter. But Jon, let me speak first. I mean, how do you see this fight going?
It's a great fight, first of all, Steve. Really excited about this one. I'm sort of leaning towards Lewison, just on his skills and his boxing skills, and I think he may have a bit too much power for Dallas, who's been vulnerable lately. I think Lewison's a bit fresher and the man I fancy for this one.
And Josh, you've seen them both sparring in recent days. I mean, how do you see it? How do you see the sparring went, and how do you see the fight going?
I was leaning towards Lewison, but I was down by Dallas's gym yesterday, and I must say I was very impressed with sparring. And I think it's going to be a very close fight. If it goes past 4 rounds, I think it could be Dallas that comes out the winner.
And what do you think, Lewison's more likely to win if it's early?
Yeah, he's got the power to stop him, but it's whether he can catch him in time, because he's got stamina issues, so he could run out of gas.
Yeah, and that's always been the issue with Ian Lewison, as to whether he's got the stamina. What do you think, Jon? Do you think there are question marks about Lewison's stamina?
Absolutely, there has been in the past, yeah, but he's working with Don Charles now. Hopefully he's put them to bed, and he can prove himself. If he's going to have to go the distance now, I think he's going into unknown territory, pushing towards 10 rounds. So it's going to be a tough one for him. But if he's done the hard training, then
it's going to open up for the winner, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Southern Area is a great stepping stone.
It
really is.
And what do you think of the heavyweight division, Josh, in the UK at the moment?
I think it's actually quite wide open, because I think a lot of the better ones are starting to move on to world title challenges. So with Tyson Fury, David Haye, they're actually at European level. I think the British scene's quite wide open.
And so the winner really has got a massive opportunity.
English title, John McDermott possibly. Yeah, there's big opportunities up for grabs for the winner.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight, and I think for those of you that are thinking of going, get down to York Hall, because it's going to be a Goodwin boxing extravaganza and something well worth watching. But it's not the actual only title fight on the bill. There's a Southern Area Cruiserweight title, so I don't remember when there's been a heavyweight and cruiserweight Southern Area title on the same bill. And it features a rematch where it was between Mene Edwards, the holder, and JJ Ojadiri. Mene is a boxer that I manage, and we also promote him. And it was a bit of an ill-tempered affair last time. So it's going to be, there's a lot of needle in this fight. And Josh, how do you see that one going?
I think that was Mene Edwards' first 10-rounder last time. I think he's only going to improve, so I'll possibly see a late stoppage for him.
Yeah. Jon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the edge towards Mene. He just seems to have to be a bit fresher, have the better skill set. But Ojadiri is tough, and I do see him pushing him all the way again. Probably a points win for Edwards.
I mean, Ojadiri only had 3 weeks' notice for that last fight, because Harry Miles was due to fight Edwards, and the Ojadiri camp are maintaining that with a proper training camp he's going to be a lot better for it. So do you think that can make a difference?
I think so, yeah. If you say he only had 3 weeks' notice, then he's had a good camp for this one, and I think he could. Yeah, he's going to push him all the way. But I'll just see Mene Edwards doing that little bit more, landing cleaner work, better punches, getting a points win.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. I think Edwards really was pacing himself over those 10 rounds. He knows he can do it now. I always think boxers in their first 10 rounds are always a little bit scared of doing that. Lee Markham told me the same thing, and I think really I do see Mene winning, but for JJ I think it's career ending if he loses, and it might be the last time we see JJ if he doesn't win next Saturday. I can't see him carrying on if he doesn't capture the title really. Third title fight on the bill is one of our exciting prospects, who I really think with the right management, and as soon as I manage him, it should be right, can go right up to British title level and beyond, and that's Lee Markham. Since he's signed with us, he's had 4 wins straight on the bounce, including 3 stoppages, and he beat Harry Matthews to win the middleweight British Masters title last time, and now he competes for the international super middleweight, taking on Tadeusz Jonkers. And Tadeusz Jonkers is well known to British fans, having been over here, but he's coming off a really big win in his last fight, so he's really keen and fancies his chances. What do you think, John?
Yeah, it's another good fight for Lee. Another step up for him. This lad's dangerous. He's coming in. He's got 6 knockouts out of 9 wins. It's going to be a good one. But Lee, Lee likes a good tear up, so I'm sure this fight will suit him.
Mm. You saw Lee working last week, didn't you, sparring?
I also think he's improved quite tremendously under old Len. Like the guy he's fought has always got stopped by the top boys in Britain, so that's a good marker for him to see how far he can go.
Yeah, well, Jonkers has been stopped by George Groves and Eubank Jr., so the really good ones do take care of him, and obviously we're hoping that Lee does the same thing. And it's we mustn't forget. I think there are levels in title fights, and both Diego Burton and Danny Brown have their World Cup really here. They're fighting for the International Masters bronze titles. They're not heralded fighters as such, but for them it's a chance of a professional boxing title. And you've seen both of them box, haven't you, John?
Many times, yeah. I think this is the second time they've fought each other. I believe Diego beat him on points first time round. And Diego's moving on now, hopefully sort of moving up. This is a good chance, see if he can push himself, improve what he did last time, maybe try and get a stoppage.
Yeah, what's your view?
I agree with John. I think Diego will win quite comfortably.
Yeah, I mean for Danny, he does take the role of journeyman on, but I know that he's really trained extremely hard for this fight. So for him, this is his World Cup and it's his big chance of a title. So I think he'll give it his all. I think Diego will probably have too much for Danny, but I think it's a good fight once again. I mean, we also feature some other fighters here not in title action who have been, one has been there, some of them are going there, but the first one who has been there is Tony Conquest. Tony Conquest was WBO international champion until his shock when he was stopped by Neil Dawson in his first round. In the first round, this is his comeback fight, and hopefully he's fighting Wadi Camacho in September. Josh, what do you feel about the Tony Conquest Visena fight?
It's a good comeback fight for Tony. He's got a big fight coming up soon, so he needs to get the rounds under his belts, and he's proved to be quite tough, so it's a great opponent for him. I mean,
Visena's won his last 3, John, hasn't he? So he's coming on the back of 3 wins.
He'll be confident, but Tony's coming back after a tough loss. He's been out of the ring for quite a long time now because he's suffered a couple of injuries. He was due to come back before. But his wins over Leon Williams, they've just got to give him confidence. If he can look back to that, then hopefully he should score a good win.
And Tony's hopefully come through this okay. He's got Wadi Camacho, hasn't he, in a British title eliminator in October.
Exactly so, yeah.
What's your view on that fight?
That's another great fight after Camacho's just one prize fighter. The win, it's a 50-50 fight, basically. So whatever, out of them 2 guys, whoever does win that one, well deserves their title shot.
And what's your view on the Camacho Conquest fight?
I think it all depends on how much damage Conquest took mentally from the Neil Dawson defeat, because a 1-round knockout that could mentally damage him, so you don't know how he's going to react.
Yeah, and when we're just moving on, I think one of the lighter weights in the country, I think George Jupp showed when he fought Choi in prize fighter that he's a potential star of the future. And he's had a year out, he's had a few issues, but he's now trained by Derek Granger. He's signed a promotional deal with us, and on the way forward he takes on a foreigner, Ivan Levikis, who's won his last 2 fights. So they're not taking an easy fight after 12 months out, are they, John?
No, not at all. Fair play to him for taking that one. I like George when he first started out his career. He's a good, educated boxer. He likes to fight behind his jab, and he's sort of not a brawler. He just likes to use his boxing skills and force his victories. But he's got a tough one here. This lad, he's got knockouts, but he's also been stopped a lot. So cool. It's an interesting fight.
I think that one's not one that it won't be a boring fight at all.
No, not at all. No.
And what's your view on George Jupp?
He's got great talent, because as John said, he's got great boxing ability, so it should be an interesting fight, because this guy gives it a go but can also be stopped, so it should be exciting. We've also got 2 exciting heavyweights on the bill, apart from the Lewis and Dallas fight. We've got
AJ Carter, who fights Michel Vasek, who's 1-1 but with 1 KO, and Dominic Akinlandi, who stopped his first fight in the second round. He's got Janis Ginter's. But let's talk about the AJ Carter fight. I don't think this AJ against Michel Vasek is a total one-way traffic, John, do you?
No, not at all. It's another good fight for AJ. He looked very good in his debut against Morris. Didn't quite get the stoppage, but he wasn't far off it. You know, Vasek's coming in. He's got some power. He's got to win. He's got to win by knockout. So I think AJ needs to be on the game for this one.
Were you impressed by AJ in his first fight, Josh?
He's got exciting. I think he's got to improve, but I think no matter who he fights, he'll always be an exciting fighter because of his come forward style.
Well, he models himself on Mike Tyson, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And you know, he throws shots from all angles, and I love watching him. I just think he's one of those fighters that will build up a massive fan base, and you know, he's got to be managed and promoted right. But I think he could be very, very exciting in years to come.
He's inexperienced, so he didn't have much of an amateur background.
No, he only had 5 amateur fights, John. So I think that's why he's got to be brought along carefully.
Got a lot of learning to do in the professional game.
But Dominic Akinladi is the opposite. I mean, he was a great amateur. He actually beat Ian Lewison as an amateur, Dominic, so he had plenty of amateur experience. He weighed in 20 stone though for his first fight, didn't he? I mean, he was very heavy.
He's a big lad. He also fought Chisora, pushed him in the amateurs as well, I believe. But he's got one hell of a jab. I remember watching him on his debut. When he first landed that first jab on his opponent, you could sort of tell the fight was going to be over shortly. Yeah. He really has got a good jab, so if you can continue to use that, this lad could go far.
Yeah, I personally don't think that Ginters is going to hear the bell at the end of the 4 rounds. I think Dominic will stop him. I think it will be another demolishing fight. I mean, Ginters isn't a mug. He's had three wins from 7 fights. He's won all three of his victories by KO. But I just think Akinlandi will have just too much power and will just absolutely walk through him. What do you think?
No, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So they're the 2 heavyweights, and just moving on, another boxer that I'm very excited to see is Rakeem the Noble Ashai. He's making his professional debut. He's got a very exciting style. He's a light welterweight. He takes on Johnny Greaves, who's having his 99th fight. It's one fight before the end, and Johnny Greaves retires at the end of September. He's having his 100th fight later in the month. What do you know about Rakeem, Josh?
I don't know too much, but I know he was a decent enough amateur, so Johnny Greaves will show us how good he can be.
Yeah, I think Johnny's always entertaining, isn't he?
Yeah, Johnny might even be going a little bit, trying to get a couple of wins under his belt, as we know he's retiring. Rakeem, what I've seen, he was a good amateur to the London novice finals, so he must have quite a good pedigree.
Yeah, so that's good. And another guy who was very exciting on his debut, who's having his second fight, is Johnny Coil. He stopped Liam Griffiths on his debut, and we bring in now an import, Jan Ballog, who's won 3 of his last 4 fights, or he's unbeaten. He's only lost 1 of his last 4 fights. But Johnny Coil, I thought, demonstrated exceptional talent. I mean, what did you think, Josh?
Oh, I was very impressed in his debut. His speed is very, very good. And that Jan Ballog will give it a go because I've seen him over here before, so I'm really looking forward to that fight.
Do you remember he wobbled Michael Norgrove, didn't he, a couple of years ago?
It was more than once he wobbled him as well. So he gives it a go when he comes here, so Johnny Coil needs to be switched on.
Yeah. What's your view, Josh?
I think it's another good fight for Coil. Got a good camp behind him, training with Jason Rowland, who will be leading his career in the correct direction. So yeah, it should be a good test for him.
The other, I think, Sahal Ahmed, he's having his second fight just like Johnny Coil. Obviously a little bit more raw, I thought, than Johnny. I thought he didn't have the same amateur experience, but he fought Christian Late. He was competent on his first fight.
Yeah, I like his style. He likes his hands down style.
Yeah.
Obviously quite close friends with Yassine El Matchi. So maybe he's Yassine's sort of teaching him some tricks. Yeah, he's got a good style. Hopefully he can get a good win under his belt and push forward.
He fights Dan Carr. I mean, he's unlikely to stop Dan, though, isn't he?
Oh, I can't see it happening now. I can't see it stopping him now.
So what do you see, a points win for Sal?
Yeah, every round probably.
Yeah, I think 40-36. Alan Higgins, he's an exciting middleweight. He's had 5 fights, 5 wins, 3 KOs. He comes from Kentish Town, brings a loud, vociferous support. He takes on that Raymond Sieds, who's been over here a couple of times before. Billy Kayser beat him, didn't he? And Elliot Matthews has beaten him recently. But I think Alan Higgins is a good talent.
Yeah, Alan Higgins. He got his first 3 wins, quick stoppages. He's been travelling around the world a little bit. He went to Finland to fight. Now he's just got back from Denmark. He's been fighting, sparring with Patrick Nielsen, I believe. So yeah, he's had a great camp for this one.
How far do you think Alan Higgins can go?
I don't know. If he keeps improving, he could go far. But I think you've got a great future match up with Lee Markham and him in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a fight. I think it's a fight Lee wants down the line, and I think Alan wants it as well. But again, we manage and promote Lee, so obviously we'll be having that fight when the time's right for us. So I think the objective is that we will be doing that then, and when that happens, I'm confident Lee will win. But it'll be when we want it. And Lee's obviously on his second 10 rounder at the moment, and Alan is just doing 6 rounds. But Alan is an exceptional talent, and I think it's definitely a fight down the line that must happen, because both of these guys are capable of getting to British title level without a shadow of a doubt. The final fight we haven't really talked about is one of my favourite fighters, a really nice guy, Kevin Greenwood, and I think he's turned adversity into success in boxing, hasn't he? Because he lost his first 2 fights, didn't he? And I think it was people saying, is he going to carry on?
Yeah, he's actually, in his last fight, so much improvement was shown, and if he keeps on improving, he can maybe win a future title at some point.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, fair play to Kevin, getting stopped in his first one,
Yeah.
outpointed by Coil in his second. It wasn't looking good for the lad, and he's come back with 3 wins. So I bet he's got a tough one against James Child, even though he's still looking for his first win. I saw him fight a little while ago against Billy Bird, and he likes to tear up, so it'll be a good one.
I think Kevin is improving. I really
Absolutely,
do. I think he's improving
without
dramatically.
doubt, yeah.
And he had a lot. And if you speak to Kevin and you know about his life, he had a lot of personal trauma going through when he had those first 2 fights. And I think, knowing what I know now, he probably shouldn't have been in the ring, but he's got all that sorted out now, and I think it's showing. And Len Butcher, who trains Lee Markham, is also training Kevin, and I think he's done a great job with him, really. Yeah, so we're quite happy. So if I actually had to ask both of you what you think is going to be the highlight of the evening, and without being the obvious, apart from the obvious, or including the obvious, what do you think?
I'd go for Markham.
Yeah.
Markham fight. I just think it's going to be exciting from the first bell.
Yeah.
It's going to be non-stop action. They both like a tear up.
You think that'll be fight of the night, do you?
That's what I'm going to go for.
Okay, Josh?
I have to stick with the heavyweights. I think Lewison Dallas could be really explosive.
Yeah, for me, I think there's some good fights on there. I mean, the Edwards Ujadiri fight, I think that's going to be great. But I think if you take the 3 fights, the Markham Jonkers, Lewison Dallas, and the Mene Edwards Ujadiri, those 3 10-round title fights, I think they're 3 crackers. I think they're going to be great to watch. And I actually think the Diego Burton Danny Brown fight will be brilliant as well. I think for a small hall show, and maybe it's not, you can't really class a 13-fight bill at your call as a small hall show that's going to sell out. But for small hall boxing per se, I think it's an absolutely cracking night and a cracking show, cracking top of the bill, and it's without a doubt it's going to be a sellout crowd. So we're really happy about it. We're gonna look at other fights in detail, or other shows in detail, as we go through the week. We hope you've enjoyed our first presentation and our first preview night. Look forward to showing you all the fights on this channel once it's all taken place. Don't forget that on the Tuesday after the show, that's Tuesday the 10th of September, 7:30 PM, Bayloric TV, you'll be able to see the best of Brawl in the Hall, exclusively on Bayloric Worldwide TV. So until then, thank you very much for watching.